Hi, you've clicked onto today's tropical tidbit for Sunday. Big item of interest over here is Tropical Depression 6, forming over here west-southwest of the Cape Verde Islands in the eastern Atlantic. If we zoom in on this over here, you can see we've got a well-defined center, but it's becoming exposed over here, and the reason it's becoming exposed is if we go back over here to the big loop, there's some deep layer easterly flow in the upper levels over here. If we turn on the satellite-derived winds, you can see big easterly flow all through the Atlantic over here. And this isn't the kind of situation where we can see a perfect upper anticyclone develop over the system. Not much going on over here in terms of westerlies, so it's going to be a little hard to develop a nice anticyclone right away, which is why I think strengthening may be very gradual with this system during the next several days and may not become a hurricane quite as soon as some of the models think it will. But I don't think it's going to die either. This isn't really dry air over here. This is just sheer dry airs over here. And this might be a little bit of a problem too, but not too much because this wave was out in front clearing most of it out. So right now this isn't dry air, this is sheer pushing clouds off to the west of the circulation over here. Back to the loop, people were yelling last evening about the models being too far north with the track, and I was with them on that, but look at this on the short-term track, but look at the center going north-northwest here, and everyone's like, what? Well, the guts of the system are still going west, okay? I think what's going on with the low-level center right now, especially because it's exposed, once the center becomes free of the convection, it can do pretty much anything it darn wants. And I think what's happening is there's low pressure up here to the northeast of the circulation. I think this may be pulling on it a little bit, trying to string out the circulation a little bit and not allow it to tighten up down here where it wants to go. It wants to go southwest of where it is, but it's getting tugged on because of this little pressure up here. This should eventually get wrapped in, and the whole system should wrap up nicely as it comes west-northwest over the next few days. Gradual strengthening. I think this will be Danielle pretty soon here. It shouldn't take much to ramp it up into a named storm. And I do think this has a shot down the road to be a major hurricane. Once it gets into this area of the world right here, that's when it could really ramp up into something big. Now, the model tracks over here are still taking it mostly out over here, and you can see the tracks, and the short-term tracks were a little farther north yesterday, and I thought they were a little too far north. They may have ended up being a little bit more accurate than I gave them credit for if this little wobble does indeed happen over here. That would be something that we did not see, but the guts of the system were trying to do something different, but we'll see how it turns out. But looking at the models, they were all remember they were all heavily recurving it, and now we see some of the ensemble runs doing this stuff, and I'm going to show you here on the European ensembles why this is not a done deal as far as going out to sea and not being a problem for anyone. I did say that yes, it is more likely to go out to sea than not, but we should watch it closely, and this is why. This is the European ensemble mean day 3, 500 millibars. I know this is a little bit hard to see, but you know what, over there in Europe, the United States is not the center of the world. So we're centered on Europe over here. The United States is back here. Europe is here. The Atlantic is in between. You can see Cuba over here, Hispaniola, and Africa. So now that we're oriented, here's the storm. Danielle over here. Here's trough number 1. This is day 3. Trough number 1 digging in the northeast Atlantic. Now yesterday's operational run, 12Z of the Euro, was crud as it took this system, recurved it into this trough, and that's not going to happen because the ridge in between here is too strong, too separated. The trough is leaving, so this isn't recurving into trough number 1, but it is weakening the ridge enough that it will induce a west-northwest movement of the storm in the short term. Now, we go out to day 5 over here. You can see the trough, it tries to dig in, but it's still leaving. Storm is left down here, ridge building in over here, so it's going to continue heading west-northwest. But, you know, you see second trough. Trough number 2 over here digging in over the northeast, and we're all thinking, well, probably going to recurve. But let's keep going here. This is day 7. See the trough, and you can see the storm still down here pretty far south. Now, it is moving northwest at this point. If we go from day 5 to day 7, you can see that it's moving northwest. But you notice the ridge starting to show itself over here over the lakes. Now we go out to day 8, and look at this. It's still sitting here. The trough is in here, but the ridge is building in strongly over the northeastern U.S., and this is not getting a chance to really dig in here. Pretty flat flow in here as this tries to move. Now if we go out to day 10, the trough is sitting over the central Atlantic, but the ridge is building in strongly over the Canadian Maritimes and the northeastern U.S., and look at where the ensemble has the storm. Okay, this is directly east of Jacksonville, Florida, and it's already past the longitude of Bermuda. In fact, this is past south of Bermuda on the ensemble. And the colors here, the spread has the storm anywhere from Florida to west of Bermuda in 10 days. And if a storm is sitting in this area of the world, guess who's getting threatened? The United States, the eastern seaboard. So you can see this is the pattern that I've been harping on for so long, is that this ridging building in that I was jumping on the long-range model, seeing this pattern finally setting up for the heart of the season. And when you get the ridging building in here, that's the pattern that can lead to storms coming right into the United States and is a dangerous pattern. You got the deep trough in here, yes, but if the storm sneaks by and you get the ridge building in over the top, all of a sudden you've got a storm that's still heading west towards the coast. So this is something we need to watch closely. Now, as I mentioned, yesterday's 12Z run of the Euro was crud, but if we look at last night's 0Z run, we can go out, we see it moves west-northwest, keeps it fairly weak before it reaches the longitude of the islands, which I mentioned earlier, I pretty much agree with. It might strengthen a little more than this, could see it maybe get to a hurricane before this point, but we'll see how it goes. I think only gradual strengthening is warranted. You can see trough number 1 over here, ridge. It keeps moving west-northwest. Trough number 2 comes in and you can see it starts strengthening the storm. We go out, it's moving northwest, but then you see the trough leaves, and look at this monster of a ridge building into the northeast, centered right over the Jersey Shore over here. And now we go out to day 9. Day 10, it's moving west-northwest as this trough tries to dig but can't, and this ridge is just building in strongly over the northeast, and all of a sudden we have a major hurricane sitting south of Bermuda, which is right here, moving west-northwest, and this is a dangerous situation. Where is it going to go from here? If it's moving west-northwest, it's not really going to recurve out this way. Where is it going to go? It's either going to come straight into North Carolina as a shortcut storm, or it's going to try to come up, then recurve, and try to mess around in here south of New York City or Cape Cod or somewhere in this area. This is the kind of situation where the coast from North Carolina to Cape Cod can get threatened, and this portion of the eastern seaboard has not seen a major storm in their vicinity in a very long time. Hasn't been directly affected by a major hurricane in quite a long time. This is something we need to watch for closely with this ridge building in. Now, if we look at the UK Met, the ensembles just yesterday were all showing this recurving out strongly. You can see some of the ensemble members now taking it west of Bermuda, getting it close to the North Carolina coast over here. Some of them taking this pretty darn close to the area where things can get messy. In this area, most of them still recurve it out, but we're starting to see the model try to trend toward this. Now look at the UK Met operational. The blue boxes here, you can see pretty far south of the consensus, something that could threaten Bermuda over here on the operational run. And look at the GFS ensemble mean for the sea level pressures. There's the storm. It's pretty much two locations over here. One here, one here. Both of these threaten Bermuda. You got a storm anywhere in this area. Bermuda's over here somewhere. This storm would have hit Bermuda or affected it strongly. Look at where the storm is. Now look, here's the ridge over the top. You can almost see, even on the mean sea level pressure map, you can see what the upper pattern is. You can see that the ridge would have to be here, the trough would have to be here, lifting out. It's stuck under a ridge. Where's it going to go? Now, there are ways this could avoid the U.S. in such a situation. Is a lot of these storms, if the trough is sitting out here and the ridge is trying to weaken over here as it presses into it, it'll either turn out really fast like this, or it'll come right into the coast over here. And this is the kind of situation where you can get one of those storms, and I mentioned that again, if the ridge is over here, this is how you can hit New England. And this is the concern that we're in the same climate cycle as the 1950s when the East Coast got nailed. You can get some of these things that will come in from the southeast and still hit New England. And the waters in this area, there's 26 sea waters. They're way warmer than normal. You got 26 sea waters all the way to the coast at Long Island to Nantucket over here, and the Gulf Stream is boiling hot. So a storm coming into here would be a big deal. Now this isn't guaranteed to happen, but this is the kind of pattern that can threaten places like Bermuda and the eastern seaboard, so we have to be watching in 10 days to see if there's something indeed sitting off here in this area. So be ready for it. It could still easily recurve out to sea, but be watching for something sitting here. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.